What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Joe Ketchapalia talking about building a shipping container home or a tiny home or whatever random thing I talk about. Sorry about that shakiness. I have a new setup and I couldn't resist shaking it for some reason. But as the headline says, finally making some progress. At some point, I'm probably going to talk about all of the problems I had getting permits and all the different delays. Right now, though, I just want to focus on what I've actually gotten done. So let's see this going here. Okay. You can see one of the things we had gone back and forth about using either a crane or some forklifts to get these into place. The real deciding factor turned out to be these power lines up here. I should have gotten a better picture. Getting a crane back there that would go under there. It turned out we just were going to have to cut down way too many trees to get it in from the other way, and we decided against it. We used two forklifts. I think this actually would have gone relatively smoothly if it hadn't rained for a full week before the day we were doing this, and even the morning of. We had rented the equipment though and just decided we didn't want to wait any longer. So it was slow going, but we did make, made some progress. So just give you a little bit of a look around. This is actually, after we had moved the first one. I just wanted to give you, some visual of what that looked like up on the ground screws. You can see there was a little bit of damage. Oh, I should have paused that. See, there was a little bit of damage right there. From these, they did end up bending a little bit, and so this interior support bent. Luckily, that's a really easy fix, and we had them in there, so the containers themselves didn't bend past the point where they would work. You can see, we really tore up the ground. It was extremely muddy. So we just had a couple weeks really. From the time we got the permit, it just kept raining every few days, and so we just got to the point where they just didn't want to delay it anymore. Just giving you a little view here of the other ones that are set up. You can see, one of the things I want to point out is this steel running across isn't actually structural, and it's not really part of even the engineered design. These were something that they laid across to slide the containers on. They are steel, and so it's not going to really be a problem having them be in between, but they're going to be cut off. They were cleaned up in the points where they're going to be welded, actually at this point now they are welded. But I just wanted to point that out because I realized they look a little bit odd, just having these rusty steel slats, although, rust is sort of our theme. Like I said, hopefully we get to keep this end look, and we don't end up having to paint over that, because that is sort of the goal. We will clean it up a bit, but that the Corten steel doesn't really rust through. It sort of scabs over with rust, and so you get to have that look without really a risk of it going through anytime soon. On this side here, one of the things I wanted to mention, you can tell this site does get a lot of water through it every time it rains. It's not a flood zone because it's pretty high elevation, but a lot of water goes through. It was part of the reason that I got this lot for so cheap. It's also part of the reason we want to do an elevated structure like what we're doing here. And so in this area here, and through a lot of it, we're planning on putting some of that river rock down to sort of help keep the water flowing in the direction that we want. It'll go sort of up against the bottom there. But with this type of foundation, we're really going to be okay if the water is flowing underneath the property a good portion of the time, as long as it's not really standing there and soaking in. So we are going to set up, we're going to do a little bit of grading to try to help that flow through there. And not just sort of pond up, which it actually doesn't do it too badly on this site. The neighbor's lot, they get quite the pond, but not us. Hopefully, you can see I have some happy employees, just trying to provide a little anonymity. I'm not even going to try that word again. just censoring out their faces with some smiley faces. They didn't sign up to be part of my YouTube channel. Just didn't work here. But you can see, made some real progress. This is the shot from the back. Obviously, there's still some work to do. There is going to be the connecting hallway between these. We're gonna have a bar top here, and this is gonna be just like it is exposed, so you can sit out here. We're actually gonna build out a small deck still. But as it is, it's moving along, and you can sort of see here now the true slope of the land, right? These are all level straight across. This corner here is basically flush with the land. I mean, there's a couple of inches, and over here, I think we have 4.5 feet, right? So we have a pretty drastic slope, which was part of the reason, to come in and do a slab or do some sort of more conventional foundation was going to be a bit of an issue here. But this is one of the reasons those ground screws worked really well. Let us be able to build something here that would have been just prohibitively expensive to do in a lot of other manners. It's just another view of this. You can see, I mean, this is tracks. We're just having a really terrible time with the mud with the forklifts. I had recorded a little bit of it, but honestly, we were just moving so slow. I might as well have just made a recording of paint drying. Like, there was no interesting footage. It's basically every second, every minute we're moving an inch. It took almost 3 full days to get these on here. I guess not really 3 full days, probably 2 complete work days, and then some setup and some waiting and everything like that. But so again, I think this is going to be pretty cool once it's all done. You're going to have some sort of elevated outside space. In our plans, we don't have any stairs down from here. This is just going to be, plans show it as a deck, but really it's kind of a balcony because of the height. I don't know, maybe we'll do something where you can get down there in the center here. We're also trying to figure out how many of these trees we can keep. Do we need to change our plans a little bit there? Just giving you a shot. This is going to be really the front door. Oh, it's a little bit on the side. We will have a deck on this side, and so unfortunately, probably lose a couple more trees. We're looking at trying to build around them to the extent that we can, or maybe changing our deck shape a little bit. Because again, I mean, this is a nice wooded lot, and the point was to work with it as much as possible. The original plans didn't actually fit on the site as well as I thought they did. I don't think that somebody was really matching up the footprint with the tree survey that we had done as closely as I would have liked. So it's definitely a learning experience for next time. One of those mistakes that I'm making, so you don't have to. Because I did have the tree survey done, and we did have the plans and the plot plan. Nobody was sort of looking at those two things together, and there was a decision made at one point to shift the building a little bit more because of the topography than anything else. And when we did that, I don't think anybody went back and looked at, well, how does this affect, which trees are going to stay and go. One of the things I noticed in a lot of the pictures, it looks like our ground screws are really like bent or falling over. That's not actually the case. It's some weird optical illusion that's going on, either because of the slope and because of the trees and stuff like that. When I first looked at this, I actually went back and checked at the site, and it doesn't look like that. And so again, this is going to be a deck here. So we're going to have stairs going up. It's actually ended up being more elevated than I thought. Again, I think even though we had the topographical survey and we had those plans, nobody really on the front end looked at that and figured out how tall is this going to be. So that's something. It's good to know in the future that those are questions that I need to ask shouldn't just assume that because we have those things that everybody involved is using them. Obviously, also we have a lot more windows and doors and whatnot to put in here. But, you know, we did have some in already. We had just decided to stop work on those before we moved them. Especially once we realized the way we were going to move, we started getting worried about, are we going to break windows? Are we going to, our door jam's going to get stuck in that sort of thing. As you can see, this is the front, although the street is more like over on this side over here. These will have, again, there'll be a window here. This little bump out is actually a half bath. There'll be a window over here. This is where the kitchen is. I can't remember if this is, I think this is over the kitchen sink, but it might be over this. I have to go back and look. There'll just only be one window on this side, but so, still some work to do, but it was just really great to see that and obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but these parts that are sticking out will be cut off. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing some cleanup, some coating on this lower side, and then, like I said, some river rock going in through here to sort of guide the water flow as it goes. We didn't really have a whole lot of landscaping in the budget, but especially now that it's torn up a little bit, and also just seeing the way that this is after a week of rain, it looks a lot different than it had before. Part of that is that we cleaned up a bunch of the trash and a lot of the leaves and everything covering the ground, and so it's a much different ground. So we're gonna have to figure that out. Here's another shot. This is more like we're standing at the street, although not where the parking is. I mean, still be parking further this way because that is, quote unquote front door, even though it's a little bit to the side. But that should be almost directly in front of where the parking is. Again, as far as how we're getting to that, whether we're just doing a little crushed rock path or pavers, or maybe we've looked at, do we need to do something elevated? We're going to have to figure that out as we move forward. So some of the plans are certainly in flux still. I don't think anybody was completely prepared for the scale of these on the site. That's sort of a letdown. That's the case. Letdown to me. I should have really pushed and asked a lot more questions about, were we really looking at the topography? You're really looking at the trees. What were we going to have to cut down? What that walk down, there's a path that's shown on our site plan, but what does that walk really look like? All those sorts of things are things that I'm going to ask next time we have this sort of project. Oh yes, if you haven't already liked this video, shame on you. Please do so. Also, feel free to subscribe. Even though I've had a little bit of a layoff here, had picked up a few new subscribers, so thank you for that. If there's specific topics that you're interested in on how this went, please let me know about that. If you'd like me to just stop talking, actually you could just keep that to yourself. But yeah, that's everything. So hopefully I'll have a lot more videos coming out on progress that we're making, because now that these are on site and put together, there should be a lot going on. We've got roofing, we've got that connection, we'll have decks being built, interiors. Yeah, and so from this point forward, I'm expecting a lot more movement. We don't have the big things to delay us. At least if we do, there'll be a nice surprise for all of us. Anyway, until next time, I will keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.